And you mentioned they have constrained. Can you explain how?
So I look at just environmental regulations. The San Joaquin, we have two main rivers in Fresno County that run through our county, the San Joaquin River, and of course we have the Kings River as well. And so just looking at the San Joaquin River settlement, it really dissuaded the farmers from being able to use a lot of those water supplies. And there was a settlement which said a lot of that water had to be used for environmental purposes, for fish. And so what's happened is farmers are now having to pump more water. We're watching the aquifer actually be depleted. And so on the heels of that, back in 2015, the governor of California passed the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, which basically said you can't pull more water out of the ground. You've got to put back whatever you pull out. So they wanted to create a water balance. But the state did not invest in any more water supply. So whether it be above ground storage or below ground storage, the state is not willing to hold more water back. And so they're really constraining farmers. Right now there is a project that the federal government is looking into, the Army Corps of Engineers is looking into, to raise one of our dams, the Pine Flat Dam, just by 8 to 10 feet. It would have very little impact on the environment, but it would generate tens of thousands of acre-feet of new water supply. We're also looking at converting some of our storm water basins into permanent storage basins, so we could not only store but recharge and convey water away from these basins to help farmers as well as some of our cities. But again, a lot of these environmental rules and regulations at the federal level, NEPA, at the state level, CEQA, all of these environmental regulations are used to really stop new dams from being built and new storage projects from being done, and we need to change that.
We have a new president in the office. Do you think things will change with Trump presidency in California?
You know, President Trump is a no-nonsense president, and I do believe that he's going to focus to try to change the Endangered Species Act, and he's also going to look for ways to help farmers, not just in California, but across the nation. So when it comes to environmental regulation, we need to streamline a lot of these processes, and some components of environmental law are good. I believe that we need to be stewards of the land. We need to make sure that the work that we do is going to have an impact, but we need to preserve habitat to the extent possible. But also, too, I think when I look at our laws should be serving the needs of the public. But right now, a lot of the laws that we have, especially environmental rules, they put the needs of the environment and some fish that aren't even native to certain streams above people. And that's not what this country was founded upon.
Can you explain some of these laws for our audience that may not be familiar with them?
One of the challenges that we have right now in the Delta, which the San Joaquin River flows out into the Delta, there was a fish called the Delta smelt, which lawsuits were filed to help preserve this fish. And also, too, looking at the San Joaquin River settlement, part of that settlement was to try to restore salmon runs, because 150 years ago, there were salmon that could be found in Fresno County. But what's happened over time is we've seen dams being built, and actually the Delta used to be completely saltwater. It wasn't until we started building dams and flowing more water out more consistently that we pushed that saltwater back out towards the ocean more. And so it's created a different habitat since the 1940s or 1950s. And so a lot of these rules, federal rules and state rules, want to kind of preserve what we've created, but at the expense of people. The Delta smelt is not a native fish to California. It was introduced many, many years ago to that area. And actually, fish, which are predators, eat the Delta smelt. And so some say the reason the Delta smelt is dying is because we need to be flowing more water through the Delta to help preserve them. But what we've seen different fish varieties actually eating the Delta smelt. When it comes to salmon, salmon will not spawn all the way up into Fresno County if the water temperatures aren't right. And so one of the big issues is, how do we make sure that the water temperature is right to allow fish to spawn? Well, that's something that we can't do. All that we can do is flow water. So temperature of water, non-native species being here, are all contributing to the facts that we haven't been able to restore the salmon run fully. Again, with the Delta smelt, they are dying off because of other reasons other than people. But policies have been put in place to take water from farmers. And right now, we need to be looking at all of these things and making decisions that help the agricultural economy. And we need to be doing things in a way, I believe we could be building more dams, which also we could be generating more power if we do that, because when you build dams, it creates opportunities for hydroelectric power, which is very clean. But a lot of the environmental groups out there don't want more storage. They don't view large-scale hydroelectric either as being a renewable resource for power. So we have our hands tied. President Trump, I believe, will look at all of these things and begin to put into place more streamlined regulations when it comes to interpretations of, again, the Endangered Species Act.